Granny Tanny is the 5th episode of the 3rd season of Full House. This is directed by Bill Foster, and there will be spoilers from now as I discuss this episode. And this one is a little bit special because we also have Doris Roberts, and Doris Roberts is fabulous and is most known for her role as Marie Barone, and Everybody Loves Raymond. But I have to say, she really suits the role of Claire Tanner. That is, of course, Danny's mother and Michelle, Stephanie, and DJ's grandmother. And she's coming to visit. I'll get in more with her story in a moment. But first of all, we have a subplot involving Michelle, and specifically the fact that Michelle is growing up. It actually starts off with her asking Stephanie to help her tie her shoelaces. And then we cut to the following morning and she goes to wake up Jessie. And she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have been able to do that because normally she's in her crib. And they realise that she can now climb out of her crib. And we have some wonderful dialogue between Michelle and Jessie where Michelle is being very defiant. Everything Jessie says, Michelle says no and provides a counter-argument. And it's rather fun and delightful. And Michelle is really getting a proper little personality at this point. And later on in the episode, I'll just wrap up the part with Michelle. First of all, she gets her first big girl bed. It's a delightful bed with pencils for bedposts. She's delighted with it. She's jumping up and down on it. And there's this one moment in particular that I really loved where she's told not to jump on the bed. And once the grown-ups leave, she shuts the bedroom door and is bouncing on the bed. And I think, and feel free to correct me if this is wrong, but I think this is the first time Michelle has been on the set on her own. I know the others were just off to the side, but specifically that bedroom and getting the full attention of the audience. And I think that that's wonderful. And it's just so adorable. For somebody who grew up with Mary-Kate and Ashley, obsessed with them, still am, very much so. It's just lovely to see them starting to get their opportunities to be the star of the show, if you like, to be the ones who get all of the audience's attention, which of course is what happens later on in their own films and TV shows. But for me, that's something that I rather enjoyed. And ultimately, she became very scared at night time when she went to bed on her own in her big girl bed. So Jessie stayed with her while she fell asleep. Absolutely beautiful, lovely part of the story. But the main part focuses on Granny Tanner, or Granny Tanny as Michelle calls her, and I loved her introduction. Everybody's rushing down the stairs. Joey comes up from the basement. They all greet her and she says, "Here's Granny." And then, of course, we have Doris Roberts, and I love her. She's amazing. And she just fits this role so perfectly. And she actually said something really interesting, and I think something that a lot of people can probably relate to at one point. And I didn't write this down word for word, so forgive me if I get it completely wrong, but she said something to the effect of, "My mornings used to be get up and go, now it's why bother getting up." Something to that effect. And I imagine that that's something a lot of people face when they're retired, if they're either single or they've lost their husband or wife or partner and their children are far away, as we see with Danny. She lives in Seattle and she doesn't get to visit them that often. But now that she's visiting, they give her this newfound purpose. Danny decides that they're all going to seem like they can't cope without her. And for Danny to consciously leave a mess for his mother to clear up really shows how much he cares about her, because Danny would never leave a mess for anything. But he does it so that his mother can feel like she has a purpose. And we see her really being in her element. She's feeding them a lot. There's this wonderful moment that I loved when they're in, I think, Michelle's bedroom, and they are still stuffed from lunch. And then Claire says she's going to go and make them a big dinner, and they all groan. And she pops her head back around that door, and just the expression is wonderful. It's fabulous. It's very, very funny. And then ultimately she decides everybody needs me, so I'm going to stay. And the only person who's temporarily happy about this is Joey, because she says that Jessie can go and live in the basement with Joey and they can get bunk beds, and Joey's very excited about that. And obviously they don't know, specifically Danny doesn't know what to do, because they don't want her to come and live with them. Not to be nasty about it, just because nobody really wants their mother living with them once they're an adult, unless, for example, they need help and you're there to actually care for them. But Claire is very self-sufficient. She's just lonely and hasn't currently got a purpose in life. And after a heart-to-heart, they do find a compromise, or a workaround, I guess, and they decide that she's going to move to the neighborhood. So she's not going to move into the house, but she's going to leave Seattle and come and stay in San Francisco. And I thought it was beautiful, and I love just how much love there is for the character. Absolutely, I have bias to an extent because I really like Doris Roberts in general, so I was always going to be drawn to her character and her performance, but I thought she brought something really great to this. And then you throw in Michelle's wonderful performance as well, and it's really great. All things considered, Granny Tanny is a pretty fabulous episode, and one that I'm sure I'll always really thoroughly enjoy.